Good evening and welcome to this panel of candidates for the Santa Monica City Council. My name is Sandy Jacobson and I'll be the moderator for tonight's forum. This evening we will be hearing from the 15 candidates whose names will appear on the November 6, 2012 general election ballot for the Santa Monica City Council. Whichever candidates are elected will serve 4-year terms beginning in December of 2012. This forum is being taped for replay by Santa Monica City TV, channels 16 and 77. You will also be able to view the replay on our website, smvote.org. And now I'd like to introduce the candidates to you in alphabetical order. Starting on my far right is Gleam Davis. Next to her, Sherry Davis, Steve Duran, Roberto Gomez, Frank Gruber, Terrence Lader, Jonathan Mann. And on the second row will be Richard McKinnon, Armin Melkonians, Terry O'Day, Jerry Rubin, Bob Selden, John Cyrus Smith, Tony Vasquez, and Ted Winter. I'm going to explain the format, so listen carefully because it's very complicated. Candidates will be responding to written questions from the audience, as well as questions submitted prior to this forum by members of the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica, as well as members of the public. The format for the forum will be as follows. To start the forum, I will ask a question that will be answered by all the candidates in alphabetical order. Round 2 will consist of questions posed to groups of 3 candidates at a time. During round 3, each candidate will answer a different question, and for round 4, each candidate will choose a question from a previous round and answer it. So round 3, you guys have to listen up because you get to pick one of the questions. And finally, each candidate will have 60 seconds each for concluding statements. If we have enough time before concluding statements, we will have a lightning round. That will be, the concluding statements will be the time to comment, rebut, augment, or clarify any topic raised during the forum. Candidates will speak in reverse order of round 1. It should be noted that all questions will be asked of the candidates in random order in accordance with a matrix developed by the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica. We ask that you please hold your applause until the end of the forum, and that will keep the proceedings impartial and allow us to ask as many questions as possible. All right, so let's go to round 1, and each candidate will answer this question. Assume you have been elected to the City Council. Congratulations. And you are participating in January's mid-year review of the current budget and starting the planning process for the next fiscal year. Based on the information available to you now, what would your priorities be for both enhancing revenues if needed and for spending? Gleam, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. It's an interesting question because we recently, with the loss of redevelopment funds here in the city, find that we do not have the same financial resources that we had approximately a year ago. And I think that means we need to be much more careful about our spending. Certainly, if I am elected in January when we are discussing the budget, my priorities will remain the same as they always have been. First of all, we need to make sure that we have a healthy local city economy. We're proud to have a AAA bond rating here in Santa Monica, and we need to do everything we can to preserve it. Second of all, I care very much about the quality of life for our people here in Santa Monica. I support finding ways to fund affordable housing, even though we've lost redevelopment funds, finding ways to support our marvelous schools, to find new ways to fund open space and new parks. And in terms of revenue enhancement, I think what we're going to need to do is look at the people who want to bring projects here to Santa Monica to do developments and ask them to be a part of this community and contribute on an ongoing basis to supporting the things that make Santa Monica special.
Thank you, Gleam. Sherry, please.
Again, as we approach our Santa Monica city budget, I think all of us will be using a framework for what we think the priorities of our residents are. And I believe that those priorities start with protecting everyone's public safety and protecting the services that we provide in our community and that I think our residents expect, and we want to make sure that they are continued, even in times of budgets that might be a little bit more difficult. We need to make sure we have economic viability so that we keep our revenues as healthy as they can be. And I would make a high priority on continuing programs to address homelessness and also to make sure that we are addressing traffic congestion in the best way that we can. Santa Monica has a wonderful array of services, and we are able to do that because of the economic health of our community. I've been involved in making sure that we have additional resources through the passage of Measures Y and YY 2 years ago. So if we need additional funds, I will use those creative solutions.
Thank you, Sherry. Steve?
Thank you. My name is Steve Duran, and it poses a very interesting question because of the difficult economic times that we all face. First of all, I think a priority has to be what is going to improve the quality of life for residents here in Santa Monica. We're already faced with, in my view, overdevelopment of the city, which is bringing more traffic, more congestion, more density, and it is lowering our quality of life. So to enhance the spending, I would want to focus on things that are going to help mitigate those issues and improve the quality of life for the residents here. In terms of enhancing revenues, we also have to think of outside-the-box solutions to bring new revenues in. I have a vision that that I think the city should go in regard to making the city more renewable, using renewable energies as a chance to create revenues.
Thank you, Steve. Roberta Gomez?
I think that new development is not necessarily that we've reached a saturation point. We reached it a long time ago. And from there, we're supposed to get our revenues and use that to run the city, but not at the expense of the public. I think that too many agreements have been made with the developers against the wishes of the public, and to me that's paramount. And of course we need money, but we need to make sure that we are cautious as to how we obtain that money from the developers, and get away from sweetheart deals that I see happening here in the city. Also, I would say that no matter what, in what state that we're in economically, that the senior citizens here in Santa Monica need to be protected and need to have programs for them, because those are the people that kept this city happening. And the
Thank you. Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you.
Frank Gruber, please.
Hi. I think that we can all agree that we live in a safe, clean, and beautiful city. And we're lucky to have a good economy with a good budget situation compared to other California cities. But we should realize that basically the reason why we have this good situation is that we have a public that's willing to pay taxes more than any other city probably in the state, maybe San Francisco more. The point is we have a public that really appreciates government. Sometimes we have a government that doesn't really take care of those revenues as much as it should. And the kind of things that I point out are things like the Civic Auditorium, which has run for years, $1 million in deficits, and the city was all prepared to spend $50 million of redevelopment money so that it would still continue to lose more money. So I would take, I have a flyer out there which lists all phone numbers for all different city services. We have so many city services in the city that are really important. We have to concentrate on the budget to make sure we can keep those services going.
Thank you, Frank. Terrence Lader, please.
Hi, Terrence Lader. I believe in the spirit of Bobby Shriver. It's a sad thing to lose him as a council person, but the idea that in his belief, and I want to carry on in that we can better manage the money that we have. I think the citizens of our city, the 89,000, are tired of being ticketed, fined. We're not feeable and taxable entities to improve on the city's budget. I think it's very important that any bond issue and it has has a sunset clause and also a senior exemption. We have still have thousands of residents in our city that have they've paid $20,000 for their property, and just because it's worth what it is today, they're living on unlimited means, and they need to be protected most of all. And I think that's something that really has to be focused on. So budgeting the funds that are there is the most important thing.
Thank you, Terrence. Jonathan Mann, please.
The city doesn't have a budget problem. It has over $500 million. That's a lot of money for a city of 80,000 people and 8 square miles. What we have is a bureaucracy problem. We have a lot of people working for the city that are sucking up a lot of our revenues that should be going to the residents. And that's one of the primary reasons why I've been running for city council several times, over and over, because I want to correct that. I want the residents to have a voice in the city. I want the seniors to have a voice in the city. I don't like what's happening to the seniors. I don't like this big landscaping thing they're doing in front of City Hall when our schools are falling apart. So, public safety is not a problem in the city. We have plenty of police. They're getting overtime. They're working 3-day weeks. I mean, there's something wrong with that. We need a moratorium on hiring so more of this money can be spent, not on traffic calming.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Richard McKinnon can't be here tonight, but he sends his apologies. So we'll go to Armin Melkonians.
Hi, Sandy. Just the fact that we're starting off with this question for this debate kind of indicates that there is a budget crisis. And that was one of my premier things I looked at when I first started running. I'm not a politician, I'm an engineer. But when I went back and looked at the 2012 budget for the city, I found something very interesting. The city actually managed to get away from the redevelopment agency funding and is quite in a manageable state. We're in a robust economy in Santa Monica, unlike any other city. The city manager actually just wrote a letter to current city council boasting that we were in such a good shape. So my question becomes, then why are we approving all of these development projects, and why is the focus on that we need money for this city? I would advocate for a net zero adverse impact development policy. I call that net ZAID. Different than the development agreements we have. I don't think we need the money.
Thank you, Armin. Terry O'Day, please.
Thank you. Look, state cuts and this recession are taking down cities across our state and across our country. And while Santa Monica is well prepared, we do have a very real issue. As Councilmember Davis mentioned, we have state cuts taking away now our redevelopment agency, from which we were investing over $300 million in things like parks. You see the park under construction across the street from our city hall. In education, in affordable housing, many things that we value. It has capital impacts for those projects, but also it has operating impacts for our general fund. And in addressing this challenge, we need to look to our values. And as we do, that means, for me, protecting public safety, education, and quality of life.
Thank you. Jerry Rubin, please.
Thank you very, very much. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and City TV for putting on this forum. I love trees, but since money does not grow on trees, we're going to have to do something. One thing I think we could do is use fewer out-of-town consultants. Use some of our expert residents on various task force and commissions for various projects. We all pitch in. That'll save a lot of money. I'm supportive of bond measures. I'm sure we'll talk about ES to help the schools later. We might need more of them. I supported the half-cent sales tax increase. To tell you the truth, if it'll help our community, I'd support another one. We need to help seniors. We need to fund our arts, youth, people with disabilities, of course, education, police, and fire. If we all pitch in, we can do it. Development's important.
Thank you, Jerry.
And that's why we need community benefits.
Thank you. Bob Selden, please.
One of the few advantages of having a name that begins at the end of the alphabet is I can listen to everybody else. I think there's a bright line test. And if I was going through the budget, I'd be trying to differentiate the expenditures that are benefiting the people who actually live here from the expenditures that don't. And I've seen waste, you've seen waste, you know, there's a lot of money we spend that doesn't do that. I probably have a chance to go into detail later. The getting rid of consultants is a big expense. Parts of City Hall that don't serve the residents, and there's quite a few of those positions. I'm against increasing taxes, especially in this economy. I don't think we should be doing that. And I would try to run City Hall the way I run my own home and my own personal finances, making do with what we have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And if I can remind the candidates, we're not getting to hear every sparkling word you have to say, so be sure to speak into your mics, okay? Okay, so that would take us up to John Cyrus Smith.
Hi, how you doing? I'm John C. Smith. You know, a lot of people think that you should handle a budget differently in good times than in bad. I think consistency is important. Whether they're good times or bad, you establish priorities, the things that benefit the most people in the most ways. For me, we put people first. I would say schools, kids, neighborhoods, transportation, seniors. You establish priorities, and you hold to them, and you make sure that you support the things and the programs that benefit the most people in the most ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Tony Vasquez, please.
Hello, thank you. My name is Tony Vasquez, and as we look at the budget, as we're talking about these crises, I think we need to look at what we're currently spending. I know in a lot of our programs, and especially capital improvements, sometimes those are one-time expenditures, but I think we can make some savings now, especially with the elimination of the redevelopment dollars. You know, we've been used to funding quite a bit of our affordable housing projects, and I think one of the ways we might be able to recoup some of those funds internally is to look at some of the expenditures we're currently making and we're proposing to make on the airport. You know, as we're talking about the lease coming up in 2015, I don't think we should be spending any more money, especially capital dollars or any enhancing dollars or even subsidizing anything at the airport at this time that we don't have the money to use.
Thank you, Tony. Ted Winterer, please.
Well, I happen to be bullish on Santa Monica's future. I believe that as the economy nationwide and globally turns, we are well positioned because of our diverse economy and broad revenue base to thrive. I think either way, regardless of whether we're a budget crisis or not, one thing we need to do is, as advised by the Planning Commission on a 7-0 vote, the City Council should adopt a transportation impact fee to new development to fund over $60 million of circulation improvements to offset the new car trips development generates. That's easy money for us to get and to use to enhance our quality of life. If we do need additional revenues, we can look at an increase in the documentary transfer tax on real estate so it's commensurate with what's charged in LA and adjoining cities. And we can also look at an increase in our commercial parking tax so that people driving our town contribute a bit more when they pay to park here. And as we need capital improvement funds, we can bond for parks and public safety facilities. Spending priorities would be public safety, support for seniors and others in need, and education.
Thank you, Ted. Good job, you guys. You kept it within the 1 minute. Okay, so this is round 2 that we're going to go to. And with 15 candidates, this round will consist of 5 questions, each one answered by 3 candidates called on in random order. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer one of the questions, but you won't know beforehand if you are one of the 3. Sort of like a quiz show. It's very exciting. The first question, development. What do you see as the proper balance of residential, retail, and office growth over the next 10 years? As a city council member, what would you do to achieve this balance? Jerry Rubin, please.
Well, first of all, I'm a big proponent of affordable housing, so I think we need to include that everywhere. I support development because I think it shouldn't be a dirty word in our city. It brings in tax revenues, it helps to fund all the social service agencies, and it does this city a lot of good. I'm not talking about big skyscrapers, but you want to have development here and have everyone working together. That's why I like the Miramar project. I think it's a nice design. They've had a nice open process, and they're always willing to amend and change and hear community concerns. But they're a good neighbor, and there'll be good open space and good affordable housing right nearby that's going to benefit the community. So I guess balance is the word. I don't know the exact statistics I would come out with, but you want to have retail, office, and affordable housing.
Thank you. Steve Giron, please.
Thank you. Well, development is a big issue, as I mentioned earlier. And I think that the misconception is that Santa Monica is a place where there's vast open wasteland or nothingness. I mean, if you look at our city, we have development here. And so for me, we have a lot of it. And so for me, we're doing well, as you heard others mention in this city. So for me, the decisions on new development have to be made with more detail, more specificity, a higher standard before new developments are approved. I would not support any new development unless there were significant benefits to the impacts caused by the developers for the new development, and that's because we have a lot of development here already, and we're doing okay. So we need to be very specific on our goals.
Thank you, Steve. Richard McKinnon was supposed to be in this round, but since he couldn't come, we're going to skip to the next question. So, parks, open space, trees. What are your thoughts about extra opportunities for parks and recreational facilities? How do you propose these be funded, considering the loss of redevelopment funds? Armin?
Well, I think where we can start is the airport. I think with the 2015 expiration of the FAA agreement, I think that's a great opportunity to have one big giant park there. I would try to fund it with a parks fund. In terms of trees, I believe in saving all of our trees that we existently have and adding more trees. Some of the controversies of the trees being cut down, I just don't agree with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. Tony Vasquez, please.
Yes, I would also echo that we have an opportunity here with the potential of regaining some of our current airport use land for the city that actually is on city property to possibly extend, for example, Clover Park to make it a larger park facility than it is now. We're constantly having more and more demands for kids, whether it's soccer, baseball, and football. We just need more playing fields. In terms of trees, I think we need to do a better job in, one, selecting the right trees. Ficus trees have no business on our city streets. I mean, that creates more problems and more of a budget issue with us as it breaks up our sidewalks and our streets. In terms of funding some of potential new projects on the park side, I would be open to possibly floating a bond just for parks.
Thank you very much, Tony. And Gleam Davis, please.
Well, I certainly believe we need to not only improve the current open space that we have, but look for innovative ways to develop more. Certainly, I think that one of the things we can talk about are bonding projects that would allow us to do things such as improve Memorial Park, Stewart Park, and some of our other existing parks which could use some updating, as well as create more park space should land at the airport or in other areas become open. I think a couple of things that are important is, one, with regard to the issue of trees, we have set up an urban forest master task force. They are looking at all of our tree policies. They have gone street by street and not only recommended trees, but they are monitoring not only the planting but the removal of trees. Unfortunately, we've had to lose one of our landmark trees because it was diseased, but we are on an ongoing basis reviewing our tree policy. I'm very proud of the fact that when we did adopt our urban forest master plan, I was the one who suggested, and it was adopted by the council, that not only should we consider trees that are on public property, but trees that are on private property as well, because they are certainly part of our urban forest.
Thank you, Gleam. Next, we're going to talk about traffic. Traffic. Current policies support the belief that traffic can be limited to no new net car trips by creating mixed-use centers and encouraging carpooling, mass transit, or other alternative modes such as bikes. Do you think this will work? Why or why not? Jonathan Mann, please.
No, I don't think it works. In fact, I know it doesn't work because I've been talking about it every election that I've been in, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And part of the reason for that is development. And in my opinion, development is a dirty word. And the Miramar development is obscene. So the only way we're going to decrease or even stabilize traffic is to stop, put a moratorium on development. Repeal the LUCE, the land use circulation element. That has to, that they want to, already they're trying to go above the height limits that have been, set under the LUCE. So there's no end to this. I mean, you've got 2 people on the council right now and 3 other people, 5 to 2, that keep voting for more and more development. We have to throw the bums out and elect new people who are against development.
Thank you, Jonathan. And audience, please remember, we are going to maintain and choose civility. No cheering or booing until the end, and then you can cheer and boo all you want. Next, Frank Gruber, please.
Well, traffic is this kind of thing that, for 80 years people have been complaining about traffic, and it's gotten worse because they've always done the same thing. The solution has always been to widen the streets, increase the capacity for cars, and spread development out in sprawl. Well, I was up in Santa Barbara over the weekend, and they have these wide freeways going through places that look empty. So basically, the amount of development is actually not the crucial issue for the amount of traffic. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes on it. I think that the LUCE goal can be achieved, but it really take a radical new way to look at it. First of all, there is a development component. We have too much office development in Santa Monica. We overbuilt by 100% the amount that was called for in the 1984 land use plan. So we do need to cut back on office development. But on the other hand, we need to bring more residential development here because that avoids our worst problem, the commuter problem. At the same time, we need to create innovative solutions to turn the big blue bus into a system that attracts people out of their cars.
Thank you, Frank. Sherry Davis, please.
One of the ways that we are going to help with our traffic congestion is by the opening of the Expo Light Rail. I really believe that this new transit option will bring a culture change that we need desperately in our community and in our region. I believe that there will be the ability to apply traffic demand management strategies and new technology that makes that possible. I believe that the increased synchronization of the way that our streets are signalized is going to help. I believe that our bike action plan and its full implementation is going to help. I believe that we're going to continue to implement parking strategies that convince people to drive in perhaps different patterns. And I agree with Frank that a jobs housing balance, that means that people are commuting less and living closer to their jobs, are all going to help us with our traffic issues. And I do think that culture change is possible. Look what just happened over the weekend.
Thank you, Sherry. We're going to discuss children and youth. The Cradle to Career mission is, quote, through collective impact, Santa Monica will sustain the country's most effective and vital cradle to career system to facilitate healthy child and youth development in a safe environment, unquote. Implementation of this will require council support. Do you consider this a priority, and how would you encourage full implementation? Ted Winter, please.
Well, I happen to think there's no more important thing we can do as both a city and a state and a country that invest in education for everybody. We need to remain competitive in this country with the rest of the world. We have a changing economic situation, and so we need not to be as shy as we've been in recent decades about putting capital into educating our youth. We need to focus on the STEM program, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and I think we can do that here locally. We need to make sure that we take our resources and allocate them to those programs. Early childhood development is the most critical stage of education, and we need to make sure we adequately fund an opportunity for children of all income levels to get a good start in life and on learning.
Thank you, Ted. John Smith, please.
Hi, I agree with Ted, of course, and I think everybody on this panel agrees that schools, children, education is a #1 priority. I'm a teacher at Santa Monica College. In the past, when we opened up this semester, you would not believe the long lines of kids trying to scramble for classes. I personally added like 6 different students who, above and beyond the class, because my class was already full. I know 20 different teachers that also added people to their classes because most teachers really care about kids. Yes, I support Prop 30. I think you can't really call education a priority if you don't try to make sure that the state of California passes Prop 30 so that our schools don't face these draconian cuts that are on the level. I also support that $385 million bond issue for school construction in Santa Monica and Malibu. I count on experts to the people on the school board. They say what they need. People really want to know that the money they're spending is well spent. If we tell them, if we're transparent, if there's a good accounting of it, then people don't mind spending money on schools. Thank you.
Terrence Lader, please.
I think it's really important to remember a couple of years back when the music and arts program here in Santa Monica for our children drove them to the street corners to sell lemonade and cookies to support those.
Lowering the boom on us.
The idea that we live in a community that has a $500 million plus budget, and it seems like the students are the last ones that are considered at times. These children are they're the future. They're the foundation of our community. To work with people much like Oscar De La Torre that have worked with some of the toughest disenfranchised children, the gang kids and such. This year, proud to announce in our city that we have had no gang homicides.
Okay.
So
Thank
that's
you
very
much,
important
Terrence.
to get to that
Thank you.
level. Thank you.
All right, we're going to discuss the airport. The airport lease decision in 2015 will happen during your term in office. Would you support totally closing the airport or some alternative? Explain. Bob Selby, what do you think?
All right. There's 2 aspects to closing the airport. One is the so-called westerly parcel of the airport, which is about 2,000 feet of runway, in which I think is clear the city has a right to terminate and detach from the airport in 2015. I think the city should definitely do that. There's no reason why we can't. It'll get rid of the jets, it'll get rid of larger planes, and make life more bearable, I think, for the adjacent neighborhood. The second question is, do we close the entire airport? And number 1 is, do we want to? And that depends what happens to the land afterwards. And that's why we need a majority on the city council that's going to be resident supporting, because this is going to be a city's going to be filled with salivating developers that want to turn that land into profit-making buildings, another Century City. So that's why we're running. We should close it if we can, and I've reviewed the agreement. I think we have a good shot of doing it and making it a park or something else that's conducive with the adjacent neighborhood.
Thank you, Bob. Roberto Gomez, please. Move your mic so that,
sorry.
thank you.
I think that part of the airport should be kept open only because of the emergency aspect of it. In case there's a calamity here in Santa Monica, we can get supplies in. We shouldn't be so short-sighted and close it completely. But I'd rather not have jets coming in. We should also not rely on the city council or 7 people to dictate the future of the airport. It's much too important. We should get a committee, like I said before during the CRAP meeting, we should get together and get somebody like a grand jury type thing, a secret body to give input as to what should happen. We shouldn't let the city direct the direction of the airport.
Thank you, Roberto. Terry O'Day, please.
Thank you. As we hear an airplane fly above us, that we're reminded of the importance of this issue. The airport in our community produces real impacts for folks who live near our airport. In particular, this includes pollution impacts, the noise impacts, safety. You don't have to dig too deeply to see how many times airplanes have gone down in our neighborhoods in Santa Monica. And also, it has economic impacts on our city. We can reduce these impacts, but if we can't, then we should be open to closure. And in order to prepare for 2015, to put us in a place to do that, we have to first do what we can now to reduce these impacts. Second, we have to prepare a litigation strategy that gives us the strength to challenge the FAA if necessary. Third, we need to increase our authority by seeking external authority from other regulatory bodies, such as air quality entities and other federal agencies. Fourth, we need to engage the community in solutions for the airport.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going into round 3, which is the tricky one in that you have to listen, because you're going to have a chance to ask a question that isn't directed to you now, but will be, you get to pick it for round 4. Are we all clear on this? Tony, you're looking at me like, okay, so everybody listen to all the questions. If there's one that is really interesting to you, you get to ask it or answer it in round 4. And we can have duplicates, okay? So you don't have to worry about that. We're all clear. The audience clear? Okay, you'll figure it out. All right, let's start with talking about seniors. The state of California no longer funds exercise classes for older adults that the Emeritus College has provided in the past. Is this a program that should be provided by the city? Gleam Davis, please.
Well, actually, I'm proud to announce that we have just instituted some new exercise and other programs at our senior center located in Palisades Park in order to compensate for the loss of some of the Emeritus College programs. We've also been working with the Emeritus College to make sure that the students who attend the Emeritus College, even with our change in parking rates, don't need to pay the increased parking rates, but will still be able to park for free when they attend Emeritus College. I believe firmly in lifelong learning. I've been very instrumental in working with seniors. I'm proud to have been on the board of WISE Senior Services, and recently I'm proud of the fact that the council encouraged our staff, and they've adopted a door-through-door service, which not only allows seniors to have transportation throughout the city, but when they have parcels or packages, groceries, the driver will actually help them get them into their homes. And this will allow our seniors to age with grace and dignity in their own homes. So yes, I believe the city must remain committed to providing programs for seniors in terms of housing and other services.
Thank you, Gleam. Our youngest, what steps can you take as a city council member to ensure children from ages 0 to 5 in Santa Monica are given access to strong learning foundations that will ultimately prepare them for future success? John Smith, please.
Well, you know, education is number one on my priority list. Can everyone hear me back there okay? How about now? Okay, how about now? I can talk loud.
Push the button. It's supposed to be out.
There we go. When you're a young baby, from the time that you're in college, if you can't hear me, I'm just going to speak really loud. From the time you are a child in school, before you get to school, from kindergarten to college, we have to make sure that our schools support our children. I think that schools are community benefit. I think that education is a number one priority. I believe that even if you don't have kids, it benefits all of us to support early childhood education through grade school, through college, because if we want to have children grow up to be solid members of society and not on the unemployment line, we have to provide education from the time they are old enough for their first preschool classes all the way through college. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. All right, let's talk about violence and bullying, which we're seeming to hear a lot more of that lately. All children deserve schools and neighborhoods free from violence and bullying. The school district is responsible for our school environment. As a city council member, what programs or resources would you work to put into place to assure safe neighborhoods for our children? Bob Selvin, please.
Well, that's a tough question. Okay, I'm sorry. That's a hard question for a city council member because, as you say, it's a function of the school districts in that regard, and they have the direct responsibility for a safe environment there. Within the neighborhoods, I think it's important to have, organized sports where coaches are mentors, to have activities for the kids where they're playing in a cooperative manner. But the primary responsibility, I think, belongs to the parents. We raised a son. He had throughout his childhood, there was one or two incidents where there was a bullying, and I'm proud to say he was the bully-e, not the bully-or. And we just met with the parents, and it was one of those things. It wasn't an extreme violent situation. But I think working with the police and the programs and local athletics and their mentors, we ought to be able to do something about it in a positive way by funding those programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. There appears to be something wrong with your mic, and I think the audience
Turned it
can hear
off,
you,
Bob.
but we're not getting it necessarily on television. So
Sound
you
is
know what
on.
I'm going to ask is, Jerry, will you share with Bob, and Tony, will you share with John? Good. Traffic. Here we go again. What can the city do to encourage use of rail when it arrives and prevent more traffic from those driving to the stations? Steve Duran, please.
Thank you. This is Steve Duran. With the coming of the train station in 2015, that's going to bring a great opportunity for Santa Monica. Not only because residents will be able to hopefully commute out to work, get them out of their cars, but also because it's going to become a revenue generator as people come into the city to visit our retail shops, visit the beach, go shopping, and do those sorts of things. So that's going to be a great thing for the city. One thing that we must be careful of is the amount of added people it's going to bring to the city. We're going to have to make sure our police and our fire have the resources to provide emergency services with the advent of, or with the more influx of people that we get in our community. But traffic is an issue that we're going to have to deal with, and that's what I would work to fix.
Thank you, Steve. Youth programming. Okay, so the one area not served well in Santa Monica is our youngest residents, the 0 to 3 group. What could or should the city be doing? Terrence Later, please.
Well, I think it's really important to, like we talked about earlier, the budgeting for the health and well-being of these kids. I think that there are a lot of programs that are serving those children, but to make sure that our budget in our city is in the condition that it can, make sure that not only the seniors but the very youngest are taken care of and have the resources that they can. They can draw from as far as so many families are now two-worker families to be able to just keep up with their household budgets. So it's very important that we have daycare and those kind of things. And I think better management over the budget that is standing in our city would be able to facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrence. Parks. Santa Monica has a limited amount of available open space needed for both passive use and playing fields. How would you balance this? Sherry Davis, please.
We actually do have a number of programs throughout our city that serve our youth very, very well. But we can tell that there's never enough time and space in our parks. So we have a really great immediate way to try to address that. It was through the Civic Center Joint Use Project. That was a proposal that was funded through the redevelopment funds that the state has taken away. But we do have an alternative. What this would do is provide an access to the different fields and different recreational facilities at Santa Monica High School, right across the street from our new Civic Center that's going in. And this is going to be made possible if Measure ES passes. So we will have the funding to expand access to all ages if we expand the recreational facilities at the most logical place to do so on our high school campus, so that it's a great collaboration between our schools and our city and allowing all residents access
Thank you,
to
Sherry.
recreation.
Thank you. Along with traffic, there's parking. Plans are to add parking to the downtown area. Do you think this will relieve traffic hunting for parking or only encourage more people to drive into downtown? Tony Vasquez, please.
Well, you know, I'm a big proponent that I think we need to revisit what we're currently doing in the downtown area in terms of parking. I think one of the things we might want to look at is actually developing large parking structures, but at the east end of the city, and take advantage of the expo as it comes in to town to try to encourage and provide some kind of a dash like they have down in downtown LA that actually moves residents, especially the homeowners, from the north and the south side of the city into our local stops at the expo rail. And hopefully our visitors and workers that come into the city will take advantage of these parking structures at the east end so they don't drive into our city and create more car trips.
Thank you, Tony. This is a question from the audience. Smokers in multifamily housing may have health impacts on neighbors. How will you help develop housing policy that is fair to all, including longtime residents who smoke? Jonathan Mann, please.
You would ask me that question. Can you hear me in the back? I'm not a smoker, so I have a little bit of a bias against smokers. However, I think the city may have gone overboard with their almost Nazi-like overreaction to people who smoke. We've got to find a balance that preserves the rights. If people want to kill themselves with cancer sticks, that's their choice. There's also, somebody mentioned to me there's a concern about marijuana smokers. And I've had this problem where I live, where I'm getting a lot of secondhand smoke. And I used to get drug tested, so I was a little bit nervous about that. But luckily I never got tested, or I got tested, but I never failed. So this is like really not a big issue with me. I mean, there's a lot more things that I'm concerned about in the city, so I wish I had gotten a different question, but I get another chance later on.
All right, thank you. And that's the good thing about round 4, so hang in there, guys. You are going to be able to answer a different question. We're going to talk about Santa Monica College. It's not just the Pico campus anymore, but now it's on many locations. Do you think there should be attempts to limit its expansion? Ted?
Well, I mean, Santa Monica College operates by its own set of rules outside of city land use policies. To the extent that they own land, they can do what they want with it. I think what we have to face is the fact is that we're probably seeing declining enrollment these days because of state budget cuts to the community college program, which are quite devastating. I think the real solution to the problems neighbors in Sunset Park see from Santa Monica College is, as you point out, there are multiple campuses right now. We need to create ways, and the city can have a hand in this, for students to get to and from those campuses without using their cars. We need to tie the campuses into our bicycle action plan and the bike routes we're going to be building. We need to create better pedestrian networks, and we need, as we've done to a certain extent, to create some mass transit connections between those separate campuses so students can come into town once if they need to come in by vehicle and then get to and from classes without getting in a car.
Thank you, Ted. Affordable shopping. If bringing a Target store to Santa Monica were before the council today and you were elected, how would you vote and why? Terry O'Day, please.
I was a proponent of the Target proposal. I would vote for it again today. I see opportunities in this town for us to serve more of our residents with more affordable retail services. Of course, by providing those, we need to ensure that it fits well in the space where it's allocated. In that Target example, we were talking about downtown Santa Monica, which now has become the most walkable downtown in Southern California, thanks to some of the policies we've taken on around parking and management, pedestrian investments, and bike improvements. And all of those things can enable us to support that kind of retail activity and as well protect the businesses that are here today.
Thank you, Terry. So, affordable shopping, that leads to affordable housing. With the discontinuance of redevelopment funds, Santa Monica has lost a sizable source of funding for affordable housing. How would you propose to replace some of that? Would you support a dedicated source of funding? Frank Gruber, please.
Thank you. Well, I think that the problem with losing the redevelopment money is going to have to be addressed at the statewide level because it's really a statewide problem. I think here in Santa Monica, we have our own housing requirements kind of backwards. We have a requirement, which is great, that 30% of our housing be affordable. But we put the onus of that on other housing, that people who build housing, and we need housing for all income levels, workforce in particular, we put the burden on the developers of housing to build affordable. And where we really should be putting the burden on is office development, because it's office development that creates the jobs, and other development as well, other commercial development, but it's the commercial development that creates the need for the employees who are going to be living in the affordable housing. That's where the nexus really is. So I would explore switching that requirement around.
Thank you. You stopped early.
No, she said she put the stop on.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
I use every second of my time.
Okay. Another audience question. Is the city getting its fair share of community benefits in the development agreement process? And if so, is it worth the price of increased density and traffic? Armin Melkonians, please.
I went back and looked. The city, I believe, right now has 24 development agreements in the works. That spans from last year and now on the housing commission's list. No, the residents are not getting their fair share. The developer agreements, what they're doing is they are giving developers bonuses of significant value and at the long-term adverse impact of the residents. My net ZAID policy would change that 100% in the opposite direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. Rent control. Do you support the proposed new way of computing rent increases? If yes, why? If no, why not? Jerry Rubin, please.
Well, I'm a fervent believer in rent control. I think it worked well. It's too bad that it's been weakened over the years by the state, but we still have it. We still have to work to protect it. We have a good rent control board. I urge you to go out and attend some of the meetings. But I think I support it. I support what the changes that are being made. We need to tighten up so that landlords cannot just harass tenants. I don't want to put an onus on all landlords. There's a lot of excellent, I'd say almost every landlord is a good, decent person, but you have to have policies in place that protect renters. That's one of the most important things that Santa Monica has done, and other cities like West Hollywood as well. And it's really sad that the state legislature has weakened that. I hope someday that can be brought back again, just like the redevelopment funding can be brought back.
Thank you, Jerry. We're going to talk about accidents, bicycle and pedestrian accidents. There seems to have been an increase in both the bicycle and pedestrian accidents recently. What policy decisions can or should be made to help limit these? Roberto?
There again, it's the overdevelopment of the city that's causing this density of traffic. Comes when you start building these monstrosities like the Miramar Hotel.
Roberto, do you want to speak into a microphone?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you need a mic.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Trish.
Do I get to start again, or is it running? No, I'm just saying.
Yes, we'll start again.
Okay. No, I think that all these accidents are being caused due to the increase of traffic in the city of Santa Monica. And perfect example is the Miramar Hotel. A half a million square feet of a whole block worth of hotel and whatever is being built there increases that. And it seems that the city council seems to be voting in on a block of 5 people. They all move in the same direction, and that can't be if you're going independent. So I think that there's too much development, and that's what's causing the accidents, and it's got to stop. It's too much development, and for the developer, it's never enough. And the backs of the people that live here, who enjoy a quality of life that's diminishing. And I think Pretty much. There's a lot of graft going on here in the city. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Roberto. Okay, so now we come to the very interesting round 4. So you're all clear on the concept. One of the questions I asked before, and we really covered all the topics, you get to pick one of those questions or subjects to address now.
Pardon me. Can I have a break? I have to go to the bathroom. I'm diabetic.
Go ahead. Well, can you hold on, Roberto? Can you hold on for 1 second?
Not really.
Okay. All right. John Smith, what was the question you'd like to address? Wait, we're going to have you borrow Tony's mic.
It's not up.
How about the affordable housing question? Everybody good in the back?
Yeah, that sounds
Great. When it comes to affordable housing, the reason we have so much traffic in Santa Monica is because of the pace and the scale of development. And the one way to create more affordable housing is to make sure that developers build the kind of housing that serves the city that we live in. You cannot expect to have people that our population was about 88,000 in 1980. It's about the same today, about 90,000. Why do we have so much traffic? If you want more affordable housing, you have to force developers to build the kind of housing you want. Our police officers, our firefighters, our teachers, the guy that checks out your groceries at Ralph's, these people can't afford to live here. They live somewhere else, and they work here. That's why you have so much traffic. If you want to decrease traffic in our city, we have to force developers to build the kind of housing we need in Santa Monica. I mean, we have a lot of choices. We're Santa Monica, we aim higher. This isn't, Potterville.
Thank you, John.
Sorry.
Thank you. Roberto would have gone next, but I'll go to Ted, please. What do you want to talk about?
I think I'll tackle that question about parks and the balance between playing fields, active recreation, and passive recreation. And I think the first way we deal with that challenge is obviously to add more park space, so there's more of it to go around for different constituencies who want to use it differently. We have the opportunity to expand Memorial Park. As you know, Fisher Lumber used to be on the north end of Memorial Park. The city now owns that site. We can create more room at Memorial Park. We can expand Stewart Park in a neighborhood that greatly needs more park space by taking away some of the surface parking lots that are currently used by employees at the city yards, and you can create enough more park there to put in a full-length soccer field for our kids to use. We can look at joining with the school district to put in an artificial turf at Lincoln Middle School, add another soccer field. So if you create enough more of these playing fields, then it takes some of the pressures for recreation off of the other park spaces. And what we're seeing right now is there's a lot of for-profit recreation activities such as exercise classes in Palisades Park. We need to create more space for youth and adult sports, and then limit those sort of recreational activities in the rest of our parks.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, let's go to Frank Gruber. What do you want to talk about?
Well, these are really great questions, and I'd love to talk about them all. But the one I'm going to pick is the traffic about the rail stations. This is a really great opportunity. I mean, obviously the expo coming is, but we need to connect those stops, and they're really for that serve Santa Monica, because Centinela does as well, with the areas of Santa Monica where the jobs are. That's where the people coming will want to be able to get shuttles to go to those jobs. And coincidentally, those areas aren't that far from where our commuters, Santa Monicans, who will use the rail to go east, go. So we have an incredible opportunity to create a system of shuttles and other services that do that, where we're getting financial support in effect from both sides. This should be part of something I call a point-to-point bus system, which is kind of, I didn't make it up, it's used by companies like Google, which are isolated, and they run systems out to wherever their employees are using shuttles. We have an incredible opportunity in Santa Monica because we have lots of employers collected together in nodes. And we can use the Big Blue Bus to develop services to do that.
Thank you, Frank. I always feel so rude when I interrupt, but
it's not rude.
Them's the rules. Roberto,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
question would you like to tackle?
Well, I would like to tackle the one about the Can you let me slide a little bit and call me back? Or
All right. Armin?
Well, being a civil engineer, you would think I'd talk about traffic, parks, parking, but what I find really kind of interesting, and this is kind of from my work experience, I've worked on hundreds of schools, improving hundreds and hundreds of schools across Southern California. One thing that I've realized is that we spend a lot of money on schools, and yet our education system is still not that great. I'm not advocating that we don't spend the money on schools. We need to. But I think something's broken with the system. I think that we need to look at the system. I don't know what it is. As an engineer, I would try to find the problem. I would try to look at the details. I would work with the school board. But I would make it a city priority to try to increase our education system and to get better test results and better education from our money that we do spend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Selden?
hey, Mike, am I going to speak again?
Of course.
Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to talk about the public benefits and the development agreements, and I'd like to talk about it for this reason. I've spent a lot of time looking at Luce, which has been talked about by its proponents as the savior for the city, and I see a time bomb. What I see is multi-tiers available to developers who can build more floors and have greater density if they provide public benefits. And the people making the decision whether to grant them that additional height and whether the public benefits are sufficient are going to be this newly elected city council. And I'm running because I think we need a majority of resident-supporting people on the city council. They're going to make sure that anything that gets built has real benefits to our public, to actual residents that live here, which has not been the case up until now. So that's all I have to say about DAs, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Roberto, it's your turn.
I'd like to talk to you about the wasteful spending of the city. As a classic example is at Mountain View Mobile Home Park where I live. There was a lady, a tenant there, the city owns the property, that went for an $86 rent decrease petition, and the city fought it with up to $75,000 to $100,000. That's a waste. And also there's a lady who lives there who's a handicapped person who uses a walker to get around. The city took away her parking and and did some work in front of her house that dictated a ramp should be built to build stairs. And this went on for 4 years. She's been asking the city to come and build a ramp. They've had people measuring, they've had the head of housing going down there at the city attorney's office, and it still hasn't built. Can you imagine how much money has been spent just for those people to show up and do nothing? She had to hire an attorney and file a federal lawsuit. So this is the city in action.
Thank you, Roberto. Sherry Davis, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I love that 3 of the previous questions had to do with the youngest in our community. And I've spent the last 15 years as an education advocate and working with a wonderful coalition of individuals from throughout our community. We've succeeded in generating $25 million a year for our public schools, which I think are terrific. We've also created a lifelong learning community, and I was one of the early advocates of that as well. I think that our Cradle to Career initiative in the city is a groundbreaking approach, and by serving our youngest, especially our 0 to 5-year-olds, in helping parents understand how important brain development is, in providing early childhood education, in providing services in the neighborhoods that really need them the most, we are going to make a long-term investment with long-term benefits for our city and enable us to be a model for cities all over the country. And I think it's a real wonderful initiative that I will strongly work to implement as a city council member.
Thank you, Sherry. Terry O'Day.
Thank you, Sandy. I'd like to talk about the bike question. And I want to, because I've been on the city council now for over 2 years, and I'm the newest member of the council and the youngest. And the issue of bikes and pedestrian safety has been one of the more compelling features of the time that I've been on the city council. Watching the increase in bike and pedestrian safety incidents has been really troubling. And the response from the city has been a real demonstration of what we can get done as a city and as a city council. We've dedicated now $8 million in capital improvements in bike safety, and you can see how it's transforming our city. I am sure that everyone in the room and watching TV can identify a new bike lane in our city, a new place to lock up your bike, and it's taking people, it's making our city safer for the things that we all ought to encourage, because it is a traffic reducer, it produces an environmental benefit, and it creates a better quality of life for our community. And it's something that we got done in a very short period of time.
Thank you, Terry. Terrence Later, what do you want to talk about?
I'm going to go for parking. And I remember being a lifelong resident of Santa Monica. I remember when the parking structures were free, and they were built to be free. And we would come down, and the folks would bundle us up, and then we'd drive by the nativity scenes, and then park in the parking structures. I think it's, as a city council person, I will be working to make the 89,000 citizens of Santa Monica free from the meters and the structures. I think there should be a moratorium on the residents, and I think there's plenty of people. There's 300,000 plus people coming into Santa Monica on a daily basis that certainly can make up for the portion that we'll be losing there. I think it's very important to be, as far as our seniors go as well, to be able to have safe and affordable parking.
Thank you, Terrence. Jonathan Mann.
Well, Bob and Armin have stolen all my thunder, and I can't really add too much, but I just want to say that it's a bloody shame that people with that much integrity, who have no money from special interests, have a snowball's chance of getting elected unless you people do something about it. Now, not enough people are involved like you who come to the city to, learn about the issues. But since they talked about the topics I would choose, my third choice would be bicycling, because I'm a bicyclist. And I see some road rage going on in this city, some anger and hostility between pedestrians and bicyclists and automobile drivers. And I think that they're all violating the law. Sometimes as a bicyclist, I'm forced onto the sidewalk to avoid car doors opening, or people who don't signal that left turns left or right. And I think that this is really something that the police should focus on more and give tickets to people, whether they're pedestrians jaywalking and making the car stop without even slowing down. This should be enforced so people are respectful.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jerry Rubin, what do you want to talk about?
Thank you, Sandy. I'd like to talk about the youth issue, because I think it is so important for our future. A number of years ago, I was working with some good people to help start our Disabilities Commission, and I think it would benefit Santa Monica to have a long overdue City Youth Commission. I can imagine them hosting a candidates forum themselves, even though they're not old enough to vote. They'd be able to participate in shaping their own future. They'd be able to deal with issues that you talked about: violence, bullying, smoking, how to get out of your cars and start off good by riding a bike or taking the bus or walking more. There's so many things that would really benefit if we put that emphasis on our youth. And,
thank you,
that's
Jerry.
it.
Gleam Davis.
Thank you. I'm going to actually combine two of the questions. I'm going to talk about rent control and affordable housing, and very quickly. I support Measure GA, which has been is a charter amendment put on the ballot in November. I hope everybody supports it. What it does is it takes the current calculation for rent increases for rent-controlled units and makes it much more simple, makes it more predictable, and makes it more fair. And I think that's really important to preserving the cultural and economic and social diversity that we have here in Santa Monica, and helps make it such a wonderful place to live. I also think with regard to affordable housing, it's very important in terms of solving our traffic problems that the people who work here also have the opportunity to live here. That's why myself and the council have elected to direct staff, and they are in the process of doing so, to do a nexus study to determine the relationship between commercial development and the need for housing. And once that study is complete, then we'll be able to use those findings to require developers of commercial property, if we approve their projects and if we find them beneficial to the cities, to require them to build housing so that we can actually reduce our jobs housing imbalance and lead to less traffic here in the city.
Thank you, Gleam. Steve Duran, please.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about parks. I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and really they were the catalyst for my getting involved and running for office. My wife and I enjoy taking them to the park, and we always take them to Ocean Park. We live in that neighborhood. And we saw that the park there, the playground, is so small compared to the amount of space of cement there is surrounding it. There was always lines of kids trying to get on the 2 bucket swings that were there. It was too crowded. And I began thinking, oh, why couldn't there be more playground space? There's all this concrete surrounding it. So then I started looking around, and I decided that I wanted to try and do something about it, which is why I got involved in running for office here. And I thought that we should be able to improve the parks, all of them, to accommodate not only the little kids, but all of our residents. For example, I would want to increase more sitting areas with card tables, backgammon, chess tables for the older folks or the more sedentary residents in the city. I'd also want to increase the exercise equipment for the young, for the athletic middle-aged people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony, that would leave you.
I'd like to combine development with affordable housing. And my issue or my concern is that I think we need to be real careful that as we move forward, we need to make sure that no new development comes online that's retail or commercial until we get a better handle on our housing situation with this imbalance between the jobs and housing. And I think one of the ways we may be able to address this is that if we look at some creative partnerships, for example, with the school district. I know they have some facilities, specifically one of the schools that comes to mind, the old Washington site, that I think could be turned into a nice mixed-use project, which actually creates housing for our workforce, i.e. teachers. We have so many teachers and police and fire people that work in the city but don't live in the city. And I think we need to have a priority for those folks, and they could be deed restricted as long as they work in the city. They have a right to have ownership of one of these new units.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, I'm getting the signal that we do have time for a lightning round. This is going to be the hardest part for you guys. I want a yes or no answer. I know that's very hard for candidates, but I'm going to ask a question, and all I want is one word. Clear? Okay. I can be tough, you know. You all know that. All right. So it's, we're going to, wait, let me find my lightning round. I lost my lightning round. Here we go. Do you support Measure ES, the General Obligation Facilities Bond placed on the ballot by the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District? Again, you will have to limit yourself to one word. Yes or no? It is a lightning round. Please call out your answer after I call your name. Tony Vasquez.
Yes.
Frank Gruber.
Yes.
Jerry Rubin.
Yes.
Terrence Lader.
No.
Roberto Gomez.
See.
Gleam Davis.
Yes.
Armand Melkonians.
Yes.
Terry O'Day.
Yes.
Ted Winterer.
Yes.
Sherry Davis.
Yes.
Bob Selden.
No.
John Cyrus Smith.
Yes.
Jonathan Mann.
9.
Steve Duran.
Yes.
Wow, that's very impressive. All right. Now, since you did that so well, what we're going to do is we have enough time, I'm told, for a second lightning round. And we are going to discriminate. We are not going to ask this, we are only asking this question of the non-incumbents. So that leaves Gleam and Terry. You can relax. Practice your concluding statements.
It's a nice change.
As a city council candidate, I wonder how many city council meetings have you attended in the past year? And now for this, I want a number. One word answer, a number. John Smith.
At least once every 2 weeks.
That was more than one number, but, okay, Roberto.
8.
Ted Winterer.
10.
Frank Gruber.
Including watching on City TV, 15 or so.
Bob Selden.
0.
Sherry Davis.
A dozen.
Terrence Lader.
13.
Jonathan Mann.
Zilch.
Jerry Rubin.
More than some of the council members, all of them.
It's a number. It's a number.
Steve Durant.
I would say 10.
Okay, pretty good. Did I get every single non-incumbent?
2.
Sorry. All right. Now we're going to do concluding statements, and we're going to go back from the back to the front. So, Ed, you can. Let me just make sure everybody knows you have 60 seconds, and I will cut you off. And we're going to go in reverse order from the opening. Well, we didn't have opening statements, but we're going to go in reverse order. So, Ted, you start us off.
Well, I'm going to dispense with a traditional closing statement because I wanted to address something that came up earlier, which I didn't get a chance to address, which was the question of whether or not the loose prescription for growth with no net new PM car trips will work. And I believe it will work if and only if we pay attention to the circulation element component of the land use and circulation plan. So far, since we've passed that 2 years ago, we've been looking at the land use. We've not been looking at the circulation. We have to take that no net new PM trips policy, look at the projects that are already approved, look at their environmental impact reports and the trips that be generated, and make sure staff right now is following, taking steps to offset those trips so we don't have new net trips. We also need to have that transportation impact fee on new development I talked about. We need to rewrite our 1992 transportation management ordinance. And we need to have much higher average vehicle ridership targets out of new development. And we also, as other candidates have mentioned, we have to seriously address the jobs housing imbalance, and that means making the development of housing a priority over new commercial development.
Tony Vasquez, please.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and Sandy for putting this forum on this evening. I really appreciate it because I think this is the way we're going to get to our voters. Besides using our mail, which is very expensive. My name is Tony Vasquez again. I'm actually endorsed by several groups like SMER, COPE, United Here. Just recently found out today about concerned residents against the airport pollution, and fortunate enough to actually been endorsed and supported by 6 of our previous mayors. So I hope with their support and your support, I would be honored to have your vote on November 6th, and appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you, Tony. John Smith, please.
Thank you, everybody. If you favor responsible growth in Santa Monica, if you kind of see Santa Monica slowly slipping away, the Santa Monica you love, then I think you should support someone like me. I may not be your first choice, and someone mentioned it here tonight that some of us maybe our newcomer candidates, we're more than capable of being good, solid Santa Monica City Council members. If you're concerned about council members who take money from developers, I think you should choose somebody who does not and won't ever, me. If you're starting to think that maybe the city you love is changing in the wrong ways, then I think you should vote for somebody like me, somebody that got into the race because I saw the same things that you see, and I decided to run for office and do something about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Bob Selden, please.
Thank you. Let me explain. 0 council meetings because I spent a lot of time doing that, fighting the traffic, finding parking, going to the meetings, staying until 1 in the morning, testifying for my 2 minutes, which used to be 3, and then having the council vote against me. And I figured, what was the point? And so I stopped. But I was a co-founder of Northeast Neighbors Neighborhood Association, past chair. I paid my dues going to city council meetings, but I saw the handwriting on the wall, and that's why I'm running. Secondly, I said no on ES because, to me, this was not really well thought out. We need smaller teacher-student ratios. Those are operating expenses. But the powers to be decided they didn't have the votes to get a bond through that for operating expenses, so they passed this because it's a lower threshold to get it passed. It's a catch-all. There's no thought given to it. But all the questions had to do with aspects of quality of life. And quality of life depends upon development. We are developed. Loose is important. You need the right city council to get you what you need when the developers show up and start asking for increased FARs. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Jerry, please.
Is it on? Yes. First, I want to thank Sandy, the League of Women Voters, and City TV. We have a lot of great candidates here. Maybe it would be easier to increase our city council to have 9 members or 11 members. I also want to invite everyone to come to the Santa Monica Mirror Forum right here on October 10th and the Santa Monica Daily Press Candidate Forum on October 15th, and tell your friends. I love Santa Monica. My wife and our 2 cats, Polly and Sonny, are in the Ocean Park area. We're going to be here the rest of our life. I love Santa Monica. I think the city council is doing a good job. And personally, whether I get on the council or not, I think our city council is going to be in good hands. I urge everyone to get involved in this election, not just locally, but statewide, and for the President of the United States. And go out to the Democratic headquarters on the promenade and volunteer. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Terry. Terry O'Day, please.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking the League of Women Voters and City TV for this forum tonight and your time, Sandy, and everyone who's working to make this possible. I've been on the council now for 2 years since I was elected, and I have been proud to serve this community where I've lived over almost 15 years. I have a career that I'm dedicated to sustainability and making progress on sustainability issues. And for me, that means covering economic, education, environmental, and equity issues. And when you have that whole package, you have a quality of life and a community that moves forward with its values put foremost. I have taken that and developed a record over the last 2 years, and it's that record and this vision that I'm putting forward that has earned me the endorsement of many of the respected members of our community, including our police and firefighters, the LA League of Conservation Voters and the Sierra Club, our city employees, SMER, and Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky.
Thank you, Terry. Armin Melkonians, please.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for one special reason. I have not raised $1 for this campaign, so I'm going to be speaking directly to the audience and using this as my commercial. If you like what I had to say today, please do go on my website. It's set up as a blog. Give me your thoughts and I'll respond. And also, please spread the word about me. The only job of city council is to increase the quality of life. You folks are going to make one vote, and the city council will make many, many, many votes. I will make one promise that every vote that I make in city council will be towards increasing your quality of life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Armin. Jonathan Mann, please.
This is a very critical election, and you have a chance now before 2015 to completely transform this city council. And it's very clear that I have a very negative attitude toward the city council. Going to city council meetings for me is an exercise in futility, so I also stopped going. I was working at John Adams Middle School today, and I saw how much they needed at the school, and this bond is not going to provide what they need at the schools. And I work at a lot of different schools in the district. My positions are very strong. I'm not wishy-washy about anything. I'm endorsed only by the LA County Green Party. I'm proud of that endorsement. I lost my endorsement with the AFA-CWA because of my position on the closing the Santa Monica Airport. I was the first candidate to advocate that, and I'm proud of that. And I don't suck up to any special interests at all. So I urge you to vote for people who don't have signs all over the city.
Thank you, Jonathan. Terrence Lader, please.
In 2005, Bobby Shriver suggested to me that since I was a lifelong resident of Santa Monica, that there being only one other lifelong resident of Santa Monica on the city council, that I might consider running. The idea that our heritage of our city seems to be, especially in the last year, under threat. I will protect the heritage of our city with the bringing back the Nativity and Menorah in the Palisades Park, very important 57-year tradition of our city to celebrate the religious freedoms. Everybody should have a voice. I'm not knocking anybody else's voice. The idea that we should support the Santa Monica Police Department and their more humane handling of situations, much like the Cougar issue, and also our landmarks like the soon-to-be landmark Shay J's Restaurant. Thank you very much.
Frank Gruber, please.
Yeah, hi, Frank Gruber. I want to thank the League and City TV and Sandy and all of you who came out here tonight. I moved to Santa Monica in 1983. I love this city. I'm not running because I'm angry about anything. But Santa Monica could be better. Every place could be better. Always could be improved. My feelings about what should be done now about Santa Monica falls under the category of what I call a healthy city. A healthy city is where everyone flourishes, whatever neighborhood you live in, whatever your socioeconomic circumstances are. It's a city that's convenient, where people can get around in a walk, a short bus ride or bike ride, or a short ride in a car, where things are here. It's also a city where the city is healthy, where the city government is healthy, where it's well run and has the resources to do the jobs that it needs to do. So I hope you vote for me November 6th. You can go to my website, www.choosefrank.net, and find out more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Roberto Gomez, please.
My name is Roberto Gomez, and the reason I decided to run is because of the abuse that the city has exacted on the tenants at Mountain View Mobile Home Park, and also the abusive behavior that took place with the residents of Village Trailer Park. In fact, that's part of my platform, is saving Village Trailer Park. 109 units, the city is working on removing rent control units and tossing out all the elderly and the handicapped people there. The city should be ashamed. Helping Mark Luzado change the zoning. Why do we have zoning if we're not going to keep to the letter of the law? There's something wrong. And I have to tell you, I don't have the money. I'm like the micro David of David and Goliath. I go to Costco, Home Depot, and I collect cardboard, and I make my signs by hand, everything. I talk to people. I don't have anybody helping me. That's how adamant I am about winning this, because there's got to be some new blood.
Thank you, Roberto. Steve Duran,
The people
please.
got to go.
Thank you. I'm Steve Duran. First, I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters and City TV for sponsoring this event and giving us the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. As I mentioned, I'm Steve Duran. I'm a father, and I now see how the decisions that the City Council makes affects this community and my children, and how we're going to live in this city in the future. Too many development projects are getting approved without considering the effects on the quality of life. Overdevelopment brings more traffic, less parking, and eats away at our community. Families, homeowners, renters, seniors, and students are working on my campaign because they all want to preserve the things that make Santa Monica special. I'll make sure that any new development has compelling benefits for us, or I will not support it. I will form a commission dedicated to solving our traffic congestion. Children and adults of all ages will enjoy improved playgrounds and parks. I'm Steve Duran, a lawyer and father, and I'm running for City Council because I love Santa Monica. Thank you.
Steve. Sherry Davis, please.
I too thank the League of Women Voters and City TV for putting on this forum tonight. As a collaborative, innovative problem solver, I'll add an important voice to our City Council. My husband and I have lived here for 23 years, and we're raising our 3 children here. My long record of working side by side with residents in every neighborhood in Santa Monica has taught me the importance of protecting our diverse community and vibrant economy. I'll use my master's degree in public policy and professional experience in economic development, education, homelessness, affordable housing, and municipal finance to help our city through the challenges we face. I want to make sure that Santa Monica remains a city with innovative spirit and resources to set bold policies that are modeled throughout the country. I'm proud to be endorsed by our firefighters, our police officers, by SEPS, the National Women's Political Caucus, California List, and former State Senator Sheila Kuehl. I humbly ask for your vote on November 6th.
Thank you, Sherry. Gleam, please.
I want to thank you all for coming out and sharing your evening with us here tonight, and I want to thank everyone who's watching this on City TV for taking the time to get informed. I moved to Santa Monica 26 years ago, and I stay because it's a wonderful community. We have safe streets, wonderful diverse neighborhoods, we have great schools, we honor our seniors, and we embrace the arts. I'm proud to be on the City Council, and I've been endorsed by Sheila Kuehl, our current State Senator Fran Pavley, our police and fire departments, our Santa Monicans for Renters' Rights, the League of Conservation Voters, and many of your neighbors throughout town. I think that Santa Monica is a wonderful place to live. We can make it better, and we need to be vigilant about making sure that whatever we do in Santa Monica, whether it's development, whether it's building the expo, whether it's bringing more parks, always is guided by one important principle, and that is it better, are we a better city for doing it? If we just use that criteria, then we will make the right decisions about many of the issues that you've heard us talk about here tonight. My name is Gleam Davis, and I would appreciate your vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gleam. Well, okay, now's your chance. We want to thank the candidates. City TV. We want to thank you all for taking the time to take part in this candidates forum and for stepping forward to run in the first place. We also want to thank you, the audience, for your interest. It takes all of us to make democracy work. Somebody very smart said, remember, life has no remote. Get up and change it yourself. And that's what we're doing. Going to the polls and voting on November 6th, elections are won by those who show up. Thank you very much.